Hello guys, my name is Nine and welcome back to another video. If you guys are new around here, leaving a like and subscribing greatly helps everything that I'm doing. But without further ado, we'll now look at the cost and the upkeep of the base. So on screen now are obviously those numbers. Now you may notice the build cost is a little higher than you may have expected. However, remember that it is a single TC base, so that upkeep is pretty representatory of what we have. Alright guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment in the comment section down below, or join the Discord and we can talk there. Alright guys, without further ado, let's get into a tour. Alrighty guys, starting off with a tour here, we can start off by entering in through one of our gatehouses. The first thing you might notice is that there's no externals on this base, as they are completely optional. They're not technically needed, as this is a single TC base. However, I will show how to add some in the actual build of the base. Going into the gatehouse, we have some patricos into compound that give nice angles along our furnaces and all that. Going in further and looking back, we obviously have our double chain link fence turrets like this. Tons of furnaces, more than enough for anyone and everyone who need. And going over to the other side, we have more turrets, followed by another way into compound, which is just a single door airlock, and also a double bedroom for respawns. And this is also garage doored off. Alrighty, now entering into the actual portion of the base, you'll see that this is free-handed in front of us on either side. Now, up to the left and to the right, one way will take us up to the roof, the other way will be into core. And every one of these also has an auto turret. We'll go through the left area, and this one is our way to core. On this module, we also have a roof peak like this. I'll show roof off here and jump to the other side before going into core. This is what the other side looks like. It has a bedroom, yet again our turret, just like this. So two ways are entirely partitioned off: roof jump ups, rotation, and peaks. There's also a battery down there that can be garage doored off. There's garage door, you just can't see it right now. It's right there though. Alright, going back down through this entrance, we'll make our way to our starter and our core. This area is our main living space, and it is like a mini open core, is the easiest way to describe it. There are tons of boxes here. You can fit even more on these ramps. I've just done it this way, as this is the easiest way to kind of access all the boxes. But 6 boxes per loot room, and then one of the loot rooms on the opposite side leads down to our starter. Now here you can see you have a ton more loot room, your tier 3 furnaces. Obviously there's more than enough room for electric furnaces on the second floor, so you're good on that standpoint. And here's the upkeep for the entire base. You're going to get exactly a day's worth of upkeep on this base, and then more, nothing less. And that makes it really good for like a Monday server or something that you just want to, play for a day or two. It's cheap enough where it's just at that perfect price point for that. All right, now going back to our roof module. We also have 4 bedrooms on the roof. We have these little wide gap-ish peaks. They're made by the freehands, but by using low walls and stuff below, it partitions off our open core, making it more expensive to raid, and gives these really nice peaks. They're really sneaky. They're nice and easy to kill people from. The main point of defense of this is the compound and all the turrets. The shooting floor is very basic, but it gets the job done. The angles are nice, they're simple, and they work. And that's the main thing. Also, don't forget that you do have angles if you pull these windows off, down and around. And you can do more with the space, obviously, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you do have any improvements or anything you'd like to make to the space, please either leave a comment or join the Discord. The link is always in the description. And without further ado, guys, let's get into a build of the base. Alrighty guys, before we actually build the base, it's good to see the footprint beforehand, so here it is. The inner core is a 3x3, while we're using the freehands and these modules as our honeycomb. These are obviously our breach peak modules with turrets on them, our gatehouses with patrico peaks, and then our bedroom modules with also exits out of compound. Alrighty, if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the description down below. I do answer everything I can. And without further ado, let's actually build the base. So be aware, I do use a little bit of symmetry and stuff like that throughout the build, but for the most part, I try to stop myself from using it when it's not really needed. So starting off here with a plus sign starter, we can wall on everything. Be aware you only actually need this 1x1 to start the base off. So we'll show what that looks like right now. Putting a double door on it and coming in here with a TC. I like to put it on this wall right here. Eventually we'll add our boxes in here, but early game, just get your bags, your other deployables, whatever you need. Coming out to this section, I like to wall it in, obviously. And then add 2 double doors. I'll usually move this double door out like this. These 2 sections will become loot rooms. And depending on my wipe and how many people I have, I will actually usually turn one of these into a full furnace room module kind of thing. I'll usually just stack furnaces in there as it's very good for efficiency early game. Now adding my boxes. These are simple. You don't actually have to do the ramps in here. However, I like to, as it adds an extra layer of defense if they're breaching from that middle square on the other side. And now I'd like to jump to the outside, add this foundation, and a shelf in the interior. And then adding my core boxes. And yes, I know there are alternate versions to get more boxes, but this is what I like to do. Whenever you can, garage door these off. Always a good idea. And then sheet metal the roof as early as possible as well to make your base a little more expensive. Now in this section is where I like to put my tier 2 workbench / tier 2 or tier 3 rather. I like to put my early game furnaces here and call it a day. This is usually what my star looks like, apart from having bags. Alrighty, going over upgrades in this section. Full sheet metal this guy in as early as possible. If you can, just go ahead and armor it. Now armor these tiles as well. And then everything gets sheet metal as early as possible. And then either from the outside, either from the outside or by removing a box on the inside, you can get this back wall and we upgrade this one to armored. Same with this guy. Obviously this guy gets sheet metal. And I'll get this guy. This is the technically final variation. This is all you need to do for this section. But coming to the outside here, we're going to start by honeycombing our base. Now, I'm going to turn on symmetry here, and it'll make sense in a second. By removing this guy. I'll come to every side of the square and add 1 triangle and honeycomb it in. Just like that. Now adding a square to complete the 3x3. I'm going to wall in every single one, making sure to add a shelf in the middle of every single one like this. And then obviously upgrading that one. Now toggling off symmetry, I'll come up here and replace this door. And yet again adding a shelf in here. And sealing this guy off. Now for this floor, we're going to do this all unsymmetrical to make it as easy as possible. This section we like to wall in. Adding a shelf in here. I'll usually move my 2 double doors that were in first floor to this section now, as they kind of get annoying on first floor at some point when you have a lot of people. Coming up to the next side, we do the same thing kind of on the other side, wall in this section. Add our shelves in. These will obviously become open core loot rooms. And now we continue by adding our door path here, expanding it out. This is now where I will move my double doors to create a sort of airlock. Like this. So now that this floor becomes usable. Okay. Now coming out from here. This will be the exact same on every single side, no matter what. So I'll turn on symmetry. We'll place, technically what we're going to do is place triangles here. But first, I actually want to do the freehands. So out of twig, so apologies for not doing it in twig initially. Be a little bit of a stutter there. Place 4 triangles, or 5 rather, like this, and then 1 this way. Back. Then come back with squares. You'll get this gapping like this. As you can see, it will actually connect like this. This is just kind of an indicator to see that it works and that you're doing it right. What we'll do now is making sure we have our crosshair on. So come over here, we're going to place 2 twig low walls like this. Come and make sure you have your crosshair on. So it should be in our options, crosshair on. Console is a little harder, but with a gun or any weapon now, we're going to aim in the exact middle dot of that crosshair, right there. As you can kind of see where that dot is. And then line up the top lines with the middle line that you can kind of see right here. Just where my crosshairs, or rather the iron sights of the gun. Now without moving, you're going to pull out your hammer, destroy both these guys, grab a foundation, and just take one tap backwards, one hit of S, just like that. Watch it very carefully as this can be difficult. Place your square, break the square underneath you, place one triangle foundation, one square, and two more triangles. This is what you're left with. Obviously, you're going to need to do this on all four sides, so I will try to do that as slowly as possible. So to ensure that this works and is not decaying, we're looking at this conditional right here. As you can see, this is a conditional. This is here having no conditional. This conditional, by us placing a frame right here, if this conditional gets removed and it looks like this, you've done this perfectly and this is ready to go. All you need to do now is stone this like that. What I also like to do, but is not needed at this point, you could add another frame here and upgrade these guys. Before now, we can come over here and make our next section. What we'll do is I like to do some of this out of sheet metal, but for now we'll just do a stone. We'll do stone, 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 raised triangle, sheet metal. And if this can't be raised, use half walls in this section instead. We'll use two half walls here, followed by windows and triangles. The little breach peak module, that's what it looks like from any other side. And what I like to do now is actually add these double door frames, two half walls and two low walls, like that. And you'll see what that is. That will become our roof peak right there, but also is partitioning for this open core to make it more expensive. Coming over into here, we use wall frames or door frames right there. Windows here. I like to put embrasures here. Now you can either do a window on these sections on every side, or I actually suggest doing walls so you have battery rooms right here on every side, or loot space or whatever you want to kind of stash on these corners. I actually prefer to stash boom on these outer skirts of base, call them, and that can be really effective, and some people really tend to miss them. Now walling this guy in. A double door here, a low wall here. Don't forget your embrasures down here so they can't get into this section. Coming back to top, you can add a double door frame, but make sure to leave it twig initially before placing the roof triangle. If this roof triangle doesn't place, you can actually place this first, like that. Makes it a little easier, I'd argue. And then place your double door frame. If you accidentally place this double door frame first, and this triangle, as you can see, does not place. Sometimes it does. But if it doesn't, upgrade this to sheet metal and it will work almost no matter what. I haven't had issues after ever upgrading this to sheet. Double door here. As you can see, the base is coming along very fast now. I like to sheet metal these foundations whenever I can, along with adding these frames too high, two triangles like this, our windows, embrasures, sealing that off, and then adding these two triangles, but making sure to make these sheet metal as to give better peaks. This is also a nice peak back that I forgot to mention before. At this point, upgrade the entirety of the roof to sheet metal like this. This is all that needs to be sheet metal, technically. But what you're actually going to want to do is, whenever you do have the resources, since this base is so short, is to high quality sections. And something I do want to talk about as I'm doing the compound is, yes, I do understand that this base is very, very short and cheap. I have been tending to move towards more concept-like bases for the future, as I don't want to repeat the same bases over and over. So I'm going to be doing some weird stuff, but if you guys do like that idea and that concept, make sure to let me know, because it's kind of what I'm enjoying more of the building aspect right now. Okay, so now the next thing here is to half our symmetry. So this is only going to do on two sides. So two of the gatehouses are one way and two of the other. So one way, two triangles like this, two single doors, double door frame, walling it in with windows. Very basic. Single doors, garage doors, optional. You could just do, you know, a double door. It doesn't really matter. It's all preference at this point. Then we get two beds and a locker. That's all you need. Next thing to come overdue is the other gatehouse, which these are my more, I guess, intricate gatehouses, even though they're still pretty basic. Put your basic embrasures on. Make sure to get your double doors on. My basic embrasures. Our turret pods on top. You only need 4 turrets for this compound technically, just in these guys, and you'll be good. Technically will give you practically full coverage, but the next place you want to do add turrets are going to be in this section. Now we'll place our compound, which is a pretty darn cheap compound. It's going to be 3 walls per, so it's going to be 12 walls. The way to do this is to alt look to your side and kind of make up the gapping in your mind. Get better with the more time you do it. That looks like I can pretty much do it. It won't be perfect, but works pretty darn well. Looks pretty good. I'll do it again for the sake of content. And to show ain't too hard. And obviously, still I don't get it perfect on every try, but there we go, pretty darn good. Obviously, make sure to add your barricades on top, but first I'm going to be adding these guys. These are for our Patrico peaks. All this stuff technically right here that I'm placing right here only needs to be wood, like how I've just shown. But stone it if you want, if you're going to do shotgun traps off them, I might suggest. If you do shotgun traps like right here, facing this way, stone them so the raid cost is higher and you can really annoy raiders. Now make sure to come on the outside. I'm placing these temporary pieces here to be able to place these guys. Ooh, a little bit of lag here. Followed by 2 chain links, or just basic double chain link fences. Sometimes these don't place, and it's because the turret is actually pulled too close, I believe. Ah, no. Metal barricade. Placed them wrong. I do apologize here. That is entirely my fault. Be aware. Placing your barricades how I just did might cause that issue if your chain link isn't, but if you do it this way, fairly certain, I will test in a second, that issue should not persist. There you go. Apologies about that, guys. That's my fault. Okay. Next thing to mention and to put on, double doors will go on these sections, swinging inwards with garage doors in these sections. Onto the interior, we upgrade these guys on every side to be sheet metal. The bottom honeycomb, if possible, sheet metal on every side. So this is what it looks like then on every side. This raises the raid cost significantly. And on one side, whatever side is going to be your core, you should rather just HQM this to get the highest raid cost. Don't forget to sheet metal these guys. Apologies for getting that beforehand. Okay, next thing other than placing our core boxes to get down is I almost forgot to add these doors. Apologies. I'm going to show more turret placement. I'm going to show the compound placement. Now if you can't, you technically have to rotate one of these. So when you're upgrading these to sheet metal, leave one stone temporarily to be able to place this turret like this, and then once this turret's placed, you can sheet metal it. A little bit of a weird thing, but it works very well. Obviously same with this side. And then I'm going to toggle on 4-way symmetry to be able to place all my furnaces way quicker. I like to stand right here on this foundation. Look to my right, push it against the wall. Look to my left, push it against the wall. Call it a day. You can raise these and make a furnace funnel. However, I do find them annoying just being anywhere in the space design and just forcing them into these little peaks. Gonna re-switch to 2-side symmetry to add in these barricades. Very nice. And then the last thing to really go on is obviously our roof bedrooms, but we need to do the interior a little more. So every frame that you can is just going to get a garage door. Everything, just every frame, garage door, garage door, garage door. Doesn't matter what it is, just give it a garage door. That way the raid cost is astronomically higher than it should be. Now what we're going to do is place 2 ramps. Ramps like this on either side. We can add a shelf in here. And then add our boxes. just like this. Now you can place small boxes and more large boxes in here. However, this is my method of doing it, as it's just easy and gets the job done. This space is really nice. I've actually put 5 guys in the space before, 6 guys we had playing a wipe, and it kind of worked very well because of the amount of loot space just on the second floor. We kind of just lived out of here. We had more than enough drop boxes and like everything. It's kind of nice, kind of efficient. It's a weird design, but I think the weird ones are kind of nice nowadays. And then obviously the one side that was your starter, you don't want to do this too, as otherwise you won't be able to get back down. But with this section as well, you will want to add some utility. I like to do furnaces. Across these back walls usually is my go-to. Usually electric furnaces are a better bet than these normals now. But as you can see, we have a ton of loot space in this space. There's more room for electric furnaces where I'm standing or any other deployables. I'll toggle back on symmetry here, and we'll come to this rotation module. Add a garage door in this rotation module. A locker on this back wall, along with this king sheet metal. And then a bed. Make sure garage door these guys off. The batteries are very nice and partitioned on this base. And that's something I really like. We can have bedrooms like this. You could also just leave these as peaks and do some other funny stuff with it. There are some ideas if you want to make the base a little more expensive that I have for them. And if you are wondering about those, I can actually give you those in my Discord. I have some screenshots of those that some people might enjoy. Now, if I were to place this locker correctly the first time, this bed placement shouldn't be hard. There we go. And obviously it's the same exact thing here. It's a very unique base, and that's kind of what I like about it. It looks weird, but the efficiency of it is very, very nice. And that's what I like. And then for windmills, those go really easily. You just build these guys. I just do this 4-sided symmetry real quick. Doesn't need to be 2. You just build these guys 2 higher. Add these platforms. Throw windmills on top. And that is calling it a day. Pretty much good. More than enough room to add minis and all that kind of stuff. And yeah. Alright. The last thing I do need to actually show are 2 things. I would like to show you guys how to add externals in case you ever want to do that. But another thing that I would like to add and suggest, if you are playing this base on a more competitive server, something I might suggest doing is not half height honeycombing this roof in, but instead making a team bedroom in this central roof portion. And what I mean by that is basically doing this. Adding double doors like this, and making this roof portion to make that area and just make it more partitioned. And that will basically raise the raid cost from the top down standpoint by a nice little bit, but also just give you more cover on roof if and when it's needed, which becomes very nice. So if you are playing a more competitive server, this is a great idea to give yourself more cover and stuff on your roof. It does block some turret angles, but it is a good option that I do suggest. And you should do it, especially if you have extra kits and you have more than 4 people in 4 bedrooms. This isn't enough. All right, last thing to finally note is how to add disconnectables to the space, or not disconnectables, but externals. The externals are going to be very simple. Starting with twig off these guys, you're going to place a square, break the first square, place a triangle back to base. Okay. Now we simply build 1, 2, 3. This right here doesn't really matter, but it will be helpful later. And what I like to do is now just place an external here. And the reason this is twig is because if I break this, it should allow me to place a TC in this section. Like that. Now these are my basic externals. I believe I'm going to test real quick. I believe you can actually make these disconnectable in the methodology I have them. Apologies for not just auto grading, so it doesn't have as much of particle effects. And if I can find the door, this is my suggestion. Even if you were to add 2 externals to this base, that's enough anti-grief protection to annoy people which is a very good thing to do. And now what we can do is add a disconnectable like this. This technically only needs to be a triangle. Sorry, triangle square. Like this. No, it does not work, but it's okay. You can do this method so it is less soft-sidable. So what I suggest is doing practically this and then either kind of messing with one or doing something weird. Just kind of making it annoying for raiders. But if you do this, this is annoying to disconnect. This is annoying to get rid of. It's just a disconnectable. Or not disconnectable, but just not easy to soft side and annoy. Another thing you can do is you could raise these guys higher to make the build curve extend further. And one last thing to mention is if your main TC gets broken and replaced at a very high point roof, let's say you make a tower off the roof and then you place a TC all the way up there, something happens, you should be able to regain TC off with this setup by placing this here. It will stack over. It's a very weird concept and it works sometimes. So just something to note, you can re-override your auth with these externals done like this. And yes, I know it's a very weird methodology. And I am now wondering why this doesn't work. Very weird. I'm gonna try something real quick. It does work as a disconnectable. I lied, I do apologize. It does work as disconnectable, so if you do need to disconnect them, this will work perfectly fine. Apologies. Sanctuary does do some weird things sometimes. It's not my fault, but it is my fault, so I do apologize. Alrighty, guys. Without further ado, if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, if you have a new idea for a base, I would love to hear it. Alright, guys. I love you all, and I will see you guys in the next video.